Hello, Bravo team. We're just getting a little warmed up here.
Sorry the attendance is so low.
I thought Kevin said there were over 300 people registered. I don't understand this.
Well, we know that I'm going to eat some.
Got somewhere to go. Won't you make yourself at home and stay with me? And don't you ever leave. Lay down, Sally, and rest you in my arms. Don't you think you want someone to talk to? Lay down, Sally, no need to leave so soon. I've been trying all night long just to talk to you. The sun ain't nearly on the rise. We still got the moon and stars above. Underneath the velvet skies, love is all that matters. Won't you stay with me? And don't you ever leave. Lay down, Sally, and rest you in my arms. Don't you think you want someone to talk to? Lay down, Sally, no need to leave so soon. I've been trying all night long just to talk to you. Color in your face so dreamily. So don't you go and say goodbye. You can lay your worries down and stay with me. And don't you ever leave. Lay down, Sally, and rest you in my arms. Don't you think you want someone to talk to? Sally, no need to leave so soon. I've been trying all night long just to talk to you. One more time. Lay down, Sally, and rest you in my arms. Don't you think you want someone to talk to? Lay down, Sally, no need to leave so soon. I've been trying all night long just to talk to you. I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling round the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps a rolling on down to San Antonio. When I was just a baby, my mama told me, son, always be a good boy, don't ever play with guns. But I shot a man in Reno just to watch him die. When I hear that whistle blowing, I hang my head and there's rich folks eating in a fancy dining car. They're probably drinking coffee and smoking big cigars. But I know I had it coming. I know I can't be free. But those people keep on moving, and that's what tortures me. They freed me from this prison. If that railroad train was mine, I bet I'd move it out a little farther down the line. Far from Folsom Prison, that's where I want to stay. And I'd let that lonesome whistle blow my blues away. Tried to make it Sunday, but I got so damn depressed that I set my sights on Monday, and I got myself undressed. I ain't ready for the altar, but I do believe there's times when a woman sure can be a friend of mine. Well, I keep on thinking about you, Mr. Golden Hair Surprise, and I just can't live without you. Can't you see it in my eyes? I've been one poor correspondent, and I've been too hard to find, but it doesn't mean you ain't been on my mind. Will you meet me in the middle? Will you meet me in the end? Will you love me just a little? Just enough to show you care. Well, I tried to make it, don't mind saying, just can't make it. Well, I keep on thinking about you, Sister Golden Hair Surprise, that I just can't live without you. Can't you see it in my eyes? I've been one poor correspondent, and I've been too hard to find, but it doesn't mean it ain't been on my mind. Will you meet me in the middle? Will you meet me in the end? Will you love me just a little, just enough to show you care? Well, I tried to fake
Good afternoon, everyone. Let's try it again. Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, we've got plenty of room down here, folks, for everybody else who's coming in. Good afternoon, I'm Kevin House. I'm Executive Director of Human Resources. Welcome to the 2014 Bravo Employee Institute. Yeah? Yeah? All right. I'd like to get us started. As you can tell by, as you were walking in, we've got the full sound of Rob Pignatello and friends. So let me turn it over to the band.
All right. Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hope you enjoy the show and enjoy lunch.
Just take those old records off the shelf. I'll sit and listen to them by myself. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. Don't try to take me to a disco. You'll never even get me out on the floor. In 10 minutes I'll be late for the door. I like that old time rock and roll. Still like that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes the soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Hey! Won't go in here and play a tango. I'd rather hear some blues or funky old soul. There's only one sure way to get me to go. Start playing old time rock and roll. Call me a relic, call me what you will. Say I'm old fashioned, say I'm over the hill. Today's music ain't got the same soul. I like that old time rock and roll. Still like that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes the soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Still like that old time rock and roll. The kind of music just soothes the soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Still like that old time rock and roll. That kind of music just soothes your soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. Take us back in, boys. Old time rock and roll. Kind of music just soothes the soul. I reminisce about the days of old with that old time rock and roll. All right, some old time rock and roll for you.
I'll get a little boozy.
I'm torn down. I'm almost level with the ground. I'm torn down. I'm almost level with the ground. Well, I feel like this when my baby can't be found. I went to the river to jump in. My baby showed up and said, I can tell you when I'm torn down. Almost level with the ground. And I feel like this when my baby can't be found. I love you, baby, with my heart and soul. A love like mine will never grow old. love you in the morning and the evening too. Every time you leave me, I get mad with you. I'm torn down, almost level with the ground. And I feel like this, but my baby can't be found. Mercy. Love you, baby, with all my might. Love like mine is out of sight. I'll lie for you if you want me to. I really don't believe your love is true. I'm torn down, almost level with the ground. Yeah, well, I feel like this, and my baby can't be found. Well, I'm torn down, almost level with the ground. Thank you. Someone told me long ago there's a calm before the storm. Well, I know it's been coming for some time. When it's over, so they say, it'll rain a sunny day. Well, I know, shining down like water. I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? Coming down on a sunny day. Yesterday and days before, sun is cold and rain is hot. Well, I know it's been that way for all my time. Till forever on it goes, through the circle fast and slow. Well, I know, and I can't stop, I wonder. I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? Coming down on a sunny day. Yeah, I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? I want to know, have you ever seen the rain? Coming down on a sunny day. Next. There's a little song about a rooster. I got a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for days. I got a little red rooster, too lazy to crow for days. He keeps everything in the barnyard upset and my little red rooster, please drive him home. I ain't had no peace in the barnyard since my little red rooster's been gone. I ain't had no peace in the barnyard since my little red rooster's been gone. I ain't had no peace in the barnyard since my little red rooster's been gone. Anybody see that red rooster? Send him home. This next song is actually an original song that you've never heard before. Hope you like it. It's called Dark Road. 2, 3, 4. Catch the moon, I watched it take its rightful place last night. Jambalaya, we're out on Jackson Square, alright. Candles glowing, I think I'm feeling voodoo in the air. Say there, mister, come on over if you dare. Gypsy, won't you tell me what you see? Is it love? Is it money? Is there something there for me? The mystic lady looked intently at the card she laid. Held my breath, closed my eyes, and I began to pray. Hold on, baby. What the gypsy said. I hope for sunshine. She saw a storm instead. Here's your fortune. It might be one you dread. Look at the crystal ball with me now. I see a dark road ahead. That strange old lady really shook me good. When she spoke of stories, I never did imagine if I could. Got her from the table, I need a shot of bourbon, calm my nerves. Lose myself in music, I see the funky pirate jump the curve. Hold on, baby. What the gypsy said. I hope for sunshine. You saw a storm instead. Here's your fortune. Might be one you dread. Look at the crystal ball with me now. I see a dark road. Thank you. stick to you, to you. Kind of fool are you? Strange move, kill what's inside of you. On a boat in the middle of a raging sea, she would make a scene for it all to be ignored. And wouldn't you be bored? Strange move, kill what's inside of you. Strange move. Strange move. Strange move. Strange move. Strange move. Feel what's inside of you. Right. Oldie but a goodie.
See everybody waving their hands for this one. So, Purple Rain.
I don't meant to cause you any sorrow. I never meant to cause you any pain. I only wanted one time to see you laughing. I only want to see you laughing in the purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. I only want to see you bathing in that purple rain. I never wanted to be your weekend lover. I only wanted to be some kind of friend. Baby, I can never steal you from another. Such a shame, our friendship had to end. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. I only want to see you underneath that purple rain. Honey, I know, times are changing. It's time we all reach out for something new. That means you too. You say you want a leader, but you can't seem to make up your mind. Well, I think you better close it. Let me guide you to the purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. Purple rain, purple rain. I only want Purple Rain. The thrill is gone. The thrill has gone away. The thrill is gone. The thrill has gone away. You know you done me wrong, and you'll be sorry someday. The thrill is gone. It's gone away from me. The thrill is gone. It's gone away from me. And though I will live on, so lonely I will be. The thrill is gone. It's gone away for good. The thrill is gone. It's gone away for good. Someday I'll be over it all, just like you said I would. You know I'm free, 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 free from your spell. I'm free, baby, free from your spell. And now that it's all over, all I can do is wish you well. Thank you.
Hang in with us. We're finishing up, and we'll have a little program and continue the afternoon.
Something in the way she moves attracts me like no other lover. Something in the way she woos me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how somewhere in her smile she knows that I don't need no other lover. Something in her style that shows me I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how you're asking me, will my something in the things she shows me. I don't want to leave her now. You know I believe in how. Thank you. Wasn't that something?
So predictable.
Okay, this is our last song. Thanks for listening. Want to thank the band, Tim Van Beveren, Andy Abate, Tony Anderson, and I'm your friend Rob. All right, Crossroads. Down. Thank you. Let's give it up for the band. Tim, Andy, Tony.
Hey everybody, how about a hand for Rob Pignatello and the band? So once again, thank you all very much for attending this 2014 Bravo Employee Institute. The topic of volunteerism, a very unique topic, a fabulous topic. You know, the topics are becoming more and more interesting as we move along. So thanks to Rob for helping us continue this tradition. So Rob will come up and introduce President Travis. We'll have the Employee of the Year. We have a guest speaker in Gary Bagley from New York Cares. And then we're back at it. We have the packing volunteer program as well as other sessions for this afternoon and some fun stuff. Wiffle ball, I intend to strike a few people out this afternoon. In addition, we'll have a couple of raffles and really just enjoy yourself. This is our day to relax, but also combination of professional, personal, and now even community work involved. So without further ado, what I'd like to do, he's putting his guitar away, it's done. Senior Vice President Rob Pignatello.
Thanks, Kevin. How's everybody doing? So I'm just transitioning a little bit here. I have no voice left, so I probably shouldn't say too much. I'd like to thank Kevin House and the entire Bravo team, the Human Resources team at John Jay. Raise your hands, Bravo team. Thanks so much for putting this event together. This is the signature event of our employee engagement program. We've been doing this for a number of years now. It's become a great tradition. And we end the school year, the academic year, with this wonderful professional development program. We have an amazing array of workshops that you've been attending and you will attend later this afternoon. There's really something literally for everyone. And I love how we're able to mix the sort of more serious stuff with the professional and the professional along with the personal and the fun too. So why do we do this? For me, employee engagement, this event is all about making connections, okay? It's about you making a connection with yourself, with your own professional development, your development as an individual. It's about you making a connection with your colleagues, people maybe you haven't met or known very well before in a different setting, in casual clothes, side by side. That should help with teamwork and collaboration, and the Bravo Recognition Program has begun to recognize the value of teamwork, and we've made a number of team awards this year. And connections between yourselves and the institution, okay? Increase your pride in the institution, where we're headed, what we're all about, what your role is, and helping us achieve our goals and increase those connections. So our theory is the more connected that you are, or the more engaged that you are, the more successful you will be, and therefore the more successful we will all be as an institution. We think this stuff works. We hope you do too. We've had tremendous themes over the years. Every year we pick a theme. We've done consumer technology. We've had respect and pride in the college, emerging technologies, manager-employee relationships. Very important themes. Customer service we did one year. It's really become a model program. And the university has been sort of watching this. They were here last year and covered it. They're having a major human resources conference here at the college in a couple of weeks. And I know that they're paying close attention to what we're doing and trying to spread this across the university. This year, I think the topic is very, very relevant. And I want to tell you a little bit how and why we chose it. We're looking for us as a labor force to make another kind of connection now, to go beyond what we've been doing and to make connections with the community outside of John Jay, with our neighbors, with the institutions, with the people who have needs outside of John Jay. That's part of our public mission as an institution. And I have to say, I was really inspired to come up with this theme by the work of the Office of Student Affairs and Declan Walsh and the Office of Community Outreach. I don't know if Declan is here or not, but we've had tremendous collaboration with this office. We've worked with them to join with students to plant the vegetable garden out here. We've collaborated to provide space for them to pack meals for needy people and so forth. And it occurred to me, this is such a wonderful way that students are being engaged and connecting with the greater society that there should be an employee version of this. So that's why we chose this topic, and as we often do, a lot of the workshops have this theme, and we have a really great guest speaker who's going to be telling us a little bit more about this topic and hopefully encouraging us as to what this can mean to the institution. So I have the great honor now to bring someone up to the podium. What has moved? There he is. President Travis has been an unbelievable supporter of the Bravo program from when it was initiated a few years ago. He very, very rarely misses a Bravo recognition event or the Summer Institute. He really cares about employees. We are really headed in a great direction under his leadership. We've had a tremendous year. I'm sure he'll reflect on that. I'm so happy he's here, and we're honored by him being here today and to helping us end the year on a very, very positive note. It's been a great year. Here's our president, Jeremy Travis. Please welcome him.
So good afternoon, everybody. So, how's the day been? Great. Yeah, good, yeah. So, no offense to those of you who are inside, but I spent a lot of time with the people outside. It was just sort of fun. Talking to them about workshops they've gone to and what their experience was today. And Rob and Kevin, you should know, overall, the feedback that I've gotten from everybody I've spoken to has been very, very positive. Not only for the fact that we do this event and that we have this opportunity to sort of celebrate the college, celebrate a good year, step outside of our day-to-day routines and spend some time with colleagues, but also for the theme this year. I think this really did resonate in very powerful and very deep ways. So all people wear the orange shirts, sit together. Is that what happens here? No. There's this sort of like orange island over there that I try to. And these are your people, Kevin, right? So, but I do want to just take a moment while we're together to say a couple of things. First of all, just to celebrate another really spectacular year at John Jay. This is a time of year when I think all of us look back and reflect on where we've been and what we've done, and sometimes it's a blur, sometimes we can't quite remember all the different activities and the things that we've been engaged in. But it is a good moment for us to come together as a community and just recognize how powerful the John Jay idea is. The idea of this college is really a big one. It's getting a lot of attention in a wider world. The notion of educating for justice is something that's really taking hold with the students who are coming here, the individuals who put John Jay on the map by coming here and speaking. And it really resonates, I think, with all of us who work here, faculty, staff, and with the alumni. So John Jay is just a remarkable place, and I feel really privileged to be your president and to help all of us make the maximum value out of this institution and the opportunity that we have to work together on behalf of our students and the larger justice theme. So this year, none of us can really remember all of the highlights of the year because we all have our personal highlights, but for me, the one I just want to focus on, because I know many of you, maybe even all of you, were involved in making it happen, was our commencement. So who worked on commencement? Who was there? So you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it gets better every year, but this went to some other level, this commencement. It was a great tribute to the folks in student affairs who make this happen and who really have continued to improve it every year. So I just want to, is Roseanne here? I saw her somewhere. Where's Roseanne Santosellia? Where is she? You're pointing somewhere. I don't see her. Okay, wherever she is, when you see her, tell her that she got a shout out. Is Tiffany here? They're just taking it easy after that big event. Okay. So that team has really, under the leadership of Lynette Cook-Francis, has really started this process of reimagining commencement. So it was shorter. Everyone noticed that? Just this simple idea of, yes, Gary Garvey says, yeah, shorter. Right? Just the simple idea of having two lines going across the stage at the same time. The students got their day in the sun, their moment in the sun on the stage with their pictures and their majors, and the parents got to say, that's my kid up there. They got their moment. And we also got to shave off at least half an hour off the entire program. That was fabulous. The music, we had the John Jay Chorus twice singing was great. We've now limited to one honorary degree recipient per ceremony. Sometimes we had two, which sort of dragged things out a little bit. Okay, my favorite moment was the selfie moment. Yeah. So, where's Peter Dodenhoff? Peter, where are you? Peter's fair, your idea? Okay, Peter Dodenhoff gets the thanks for this one. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Did you say Johnny too? On the tech end, okay. So this idea that we sort of capture social media to capture this moment, and then we get to say to our students, you're going to make history, and then everyone pulls out their smartphone, and we all do our thing, and Maria Garcia told me soon after we were trending. I don't really know what that means. But I know it's a good thing to be, right, Maria? To be trending, right? So right behind the unfortunate story of the death of Maya Angelou, we were the #2 national story. People are sort of saying, what's going on at John Jay? The power of the hashtag, the power of the selfie, the power of social media. So that was my favorite moment. Now, we can't do surprises more than once, so I don't know if we can surprise again next year, but maybe we just do it next year. I don't know. We'll have to, we'll get people's advice. So, but what we did that was so important was to give our graduating students a moment they will never forget in ways that they felt that they could participate. We did the selfie thing. I do the stand-up, sit-down thing with, we're born in another country. We did the 2 lines across the stage. We had music playing when they came in. We had the video, 15-minute video that I think Amala's probably here, that made to celebrate our students. So their shout out to their family in many different languages, including sign language, my favorite. So we made this a student-centered event which speaks to who we are. And we made it fun, and we made it memorable. Their families got to see our students in their moment of glory. Our faculty were all talking about how great it was, and Kathy Kalorn is going to make sure we have more faculty there next year. But it's easier to say, come to a 2-hour event rather than a 3.5-hour event, right? I remember my first, Rob was reminding me, I remember my first commencement in the big Madison Square Garden, where so look out into the vast beyond. And we've gone a long way since then. So that was, I think, my highlight of the year was commencement, because it shows that we're in a continuous improvement mode, that we have great imaginative faculty, staff who make this happen, and that the faculty and the administration could benefit. So this is the time to celebrate the year, to get into the theme of the conference and the Summer Institute on volunteerism, and to think about how that relates to you personally and how it relates to the college and who we are and what it means to give back, to pack up the packages for the homeless and the hungry, and plant some beautiful flowers, and make a personal commitment over the coming days and months to do even more, so we can say that we're real advocates for justice. So thanks for the invitation, and have a great afternoon.
Thank you, President Travis. And I have to say, I've worked at a few other colleges and universities, and to have the upper level support of President Travis, and to have a boss, as I do with Senior Vice President Rob Pignatello, that support these events. You know, President Travis is at our Bravo events, the breakfast, the lunch, the whatever we have, we get President Travis's support. And
Keep serving food.
Keep serving food. You know, I didn't connect those. But I'm always learning too, so. At this point, I'd like to invite up Senior Vice President Rob Pignatello as we do our Employee of the Year presentation. President Travis will remain on hand, thankfully.
Thank you, Kevin. This is probably the highlight of the luncheon, the Employee of the Year. Let me just say how we used to do Employee of the Year. I go back 20 years, so I can reflect back on the way things were done a long time ago. So we used to give the Employee of the Year award out at commencement. It was one of the reasons, of many, that commencement was so long. And it was funny because it was kept a surprise. So the recipient didn't know that they were receiving the award. So the big challenge every year was, you got to make sure so-and-so is coming to commencement, doesn't take the day off. And we were nerve-wracked, until we saw the person in the venue. It was kind of nice that they were surprised, but wouldn't we have been surprised if they didn't show up for work that day, right? So it was public safety's job to make sure the person was there somehow. Aren't you glad you don't have that job anymore at Kevin Cassidy? So how do we do it now? Well, I think many of you know that we have the 2 Bravo recognition programs during the year, one in the spring and one in the late fall. And we had, I believe, 38 recipients this year. And there's a committee that represents the college across the community that chooses the Employee of the Year among those recipients. So let me say a little bit about this year's recipient. I could not be more delighted that Emily Karp is our Employee of the Year. So Emily has been at the college 29 years, so I sort of look at this as a Lifetime Achievement Award of some kind as well. You know, so we're going to sort of pretend we're at the Academy Awards and Emily's receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award. So she started here in 1985, you know, when she was 12 years old. And she actually started as a part-time college assistant in the testing area. That's what she was drawn to. She wanted to help and work with students. They quickly determined how smart she was with numbers, and she was transferred to the business office, and she began working, analyzing OTPS and other expenses. She was promoted in 1995 as the tuition and fees officer, responsible for accounting and all tuition and fee collection. She became really, really good at collecting money. So much so that our revenue collections are among the best, and that is so important. You don't want to owe Emily Karp money. She will find you, and she will make you pay. Okay? Every percentage change in revenue collection means $800,000, which is really important. So Emily's goal is 102% collection rate for this year, right? Because we need the extra money. Emily's been an integral part of the Barfitos group, which is a cross-sectional group representing many areas of the college that has been together for a long time. And good thing, because when it came to CUNY First, having the history of working together the way they did helped us have a very successful implementation. She is respected by everyone. Everyone knows her. She knows everybody's job in the business office, inside out. She's well respected throughout the university. She's often called upon to be a subject matter expert in areas of finance. And she's been an integral part of why CUNY First has been a successful implementation. She has a great sense of humor. You may not know she loves M&Ms. And we all know when Emily's had too many M&Ms in one day, a little too much sugar. I don't know if we had this on the screen or can call this up, but I want to just show you how much and how dedicated Emily was to CUNY First. Can you read the shirt that she had made up? CUNY First, husband second. Okay? If that doesn't tell you everything you need to know about Emily Karp, I don't know what does. So, Emily, please come up here and enjoy some well-deserved recognition as our 2014 Employee of the Year. Let's hear it for Emily Karp. Not just this year, but always. Yeah. Picture first.
Twitter first, Emily second.
For those of you who know me, you may be surprised to find I'm not so comfortable. I'm not so comfortable speaking to a group. But one-on-one, I have no trouble asking and asking and asking until I get what I need, which may have something to do with why I won this award. So to all of you in the accounting office, bursar's office, registrar's office, financial aid, and the Department of Information Technology who put up with my steady stream of requests, thank you. I could not have done it without each and every one of you. To Mark and Pat in the business office, thank you for your support. And finally, I would like to thank the committee and the college for recognizing me this year and for showing that whether in the middle of J Express or an office somewhere in the far, far reaches of 54th Street, we all make a difference for John Jay students. Thank you.
Congratulations, Emily. How about one more big hand for our Employee of the Year? And I also want to congratulate everyone who were Bravo recipients this year. How about a hand for everyone who was a Bravo recipient in 2014? Okay, what I'd like to do before I bring on our guest speaker, I've got a couple of raffles that we usually do. So where's my folks with the raffle stuff? Diana's right here. So let's see, the first thing we'll raffle off. Let's see a little raffle. How about a John Jay cap will be the first thing. How's that? So, Diana, you want to...
The first winner is Nancy Marshall.
I'll take it. If you're not here, I get it. One Jeff. John J. Bag, as I drop them. John J. Nice bag.
Lourdes Santos. Lourdes Santos. Now?
Gonna have some extra lunches. No. We're gonna give this one. Okay. We have a large John J. shirt.
Jonathan Romano.
What's that? How about this very nice John Jay backpack will be for the next person, but the person has to be here.
Linda Mitchell.
Mouse pad and mini banner. How about that, huh? Together.
Daryl Dancing. Is Daryl here?
Tell him I would have threw in the car if he was here. We'll do it. Next will be another John Jay cap.
And fan. And fan.
And one more John Jay tote bag.
Roseanne Santos Elliott. One more.
John Jay mug, coffee mug.
Lucy Lima.
Lucy!
Lucy! Lucy, yeah!
Yep, she's here, thank goodness. You know what, since you're here, you get everything we have.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
Okay, everybody, and now I have the honor and the privilege to introduce our guest speaker for this very special Bravo event. Gary Bagley is Executive Director of New York Cares. And let me give you a little bit about Gary. After joining New York Cares in 2004, he served as Senior Director of Programs and Associate Executive Director before being appointed as the Executive Director back in 2008. He's responsible for more than tripling annual volunteer service delivery filling more than 200,000 volunteer positions on 20,000 projects, and serving over 1,300 nonprofit organizations and schools last year alone. Since Hurricane Sandy, Gary has overseen the launch of programs serving homeowners, nonprofits, and schools in the impacted areas that has resulted in the filling of over 22,000 volunteer positions, 22,000. So we're going to be tapping into Gary as we move our program forward here at John Jay. He led New York Cares in obtaining the 2009 New York Times Nonprofit Excellence Award for Overall Management Excellence. 2010, Peter F. Drucker, for those of you who know management development, Award for Nonprofit Innovation. Currently serves on the board of directors for Points of Light. Here's the key. Gary holds an MPA from Baruch College, part of the City University of New York. So at this point, and he's also an adjunct lecturer. Right now I'd like to introduce Gary Bagley. Come on up and give him a warm John Jay welcome, everyone.
Listen, that was nice, actually. I hope you'll do that again at the end. So I have a PowerPoint that I'm going to ask you guys to throw up on the... Oh, I can do it just right here. Wow. Ah, there we go. Hang on one second. There we go. First of all, thanks for having me here today. When folks said, you know, can you come and speak about volunteering for about 15 minutes? I said, well, actually, I speak about volunteering about 50 hours a week. So sort of which 15 minutes do you want? And, you know, one of the things that we thought would be really helpful and is something that, you know, I personally am very passionate about, and everybody at New York Cares, is how we can all be more involved in the community. And each year we're orienting and training about 18,000 new volunteers, and we're getting about 59,000 people out in the community to volunteer. And because of that, we think a lot about why people do this, where we can drive the greatest impact, right? And so today, I'm hoping to use our experience at New York Cares, as well as some other view of New York City, to really talk about, you know, volunteering, what that scene is like in New York City, and how we can each really make a difference in the communities that we live in. Tell you a little bit about New York Cares. We have been working with John Jay College for a while, and I'll just tell you what that is so you can know. I want to talk a little bit about New York City's landscape, why we volunteer, and then, you know, what each of us can do next, alrighty? So, a little bit about New York Cares, because it actually is very timely and it still matters. But back in 1987, there's a group of friends. They want to volunteer in the community, and they try to, and they cannot. And there are a couple of big reasons that they're unable to volunteer. First one, they have jobs, right? And so most folks wanted them at night, or wanted them to, or during the day rather, or to make some sort of commitment that their jobs just didn't allow them to make, right? The second was the places that they really wanted to be the most, in public schools, in homeless shelters. There weren't existing volunteer programs. So even if they could find their way to a nice person who would want to think about how they could use a volunteer, that poor person already had a full-time job, right? And didn't really have the time or the energy or experience to think with them about how they could really make a difference in that organization. So they worked on this for a few years and finally had the idea of founding New York Cares. And so now, 26 years later, what we do, as I always joke, is that what we do is, if it's hard for a volunteer in terms of getting a volunteer experience, or if it's hard for a nonprofit or school or homeless shelter in terms of managing volunteers, that's what we do every day, right? And every day, our staff works with the nonprofits. We also build community leaders who lead programs that are all team-based in the community. And every month now, we're filling about 14,000 volunteer positions in the 5 boroughs. I always say I'm obligated by the fact that I have my job to tell everybody that this was such a good idea that they had 26 years ago, that it actually started a national movement. CARES organizations popped up in Boston, Chicago, Philadelphia, Atlanta. Eventually, a national organization popped up in Atlanta called the Hands-On Network that now is an umbrella to 250 organizations across the country that do this kind of work. And New York Cares is a nonprofit. I often joke, you know, we've always said New York Cares is New York City's largest volunteer organization. And then what happens is everybody thinks we don't get paid because we're all volunteers. So always obligated to tell people that we have a professional staff that does all this planning for us. So the model that I just quickly described to you is based on developing community leaders, right? There are folks who take on extra leadership, lead teams of volunteers out in the community. And so for you, I always say each person who organizes 5 more people, 10 more people, 20 more people for an activity is making it possible for so many, many more people to get involved than would if we went to everybody one at a time. And I think when you look around you and when you're in the office, you know those leaders, those folks who make sure that others get involved, and we rely on them heavily. Right now, we're serving 1,300 nonprofits, and you can see a nice map. We're scattered all over the city, and our biggest single initiative now is to make sure that we drive more volunteers to the neighborhoods where they are needed most. Finally, a little bit about our team leaders. I always pitch this because, you know, team leaders are people who see this, see the added responsibility, and get excited. So if anything interests you about leading programs, either here at the college or through New York Cares, or a combination of both, I hope you'll stop and you'll talk to me later. So, John Jay has always been a good friend to New York Cares. And right now, we have hosted volunteer orientations here. Over 750 new volunteers for New York Cares have started their experience here at John Jay College. Students and faculty and staff together have participated in our annual coat drive. Who knows the New York Cares coat drive? Shivering Statue of Liberty. Hands high. I should have made you stand up at the beginning and shiver instead of applauding. I'll use that the next time I speak somewhere. But the coat drive is one of our best known programs. And last year, just to give you a sense of what that's like, all those coats that come in 20s and 30s from around the city, last year added up to over 77,000 coats that were collected and distributed to people in need. Over 283 agencies applied to get those coats. And we bring those in 6 weeks. If you ever want to see an operation, I can always brag about it because I didn't think of it, you know, so I could say how great it is. But those coats come in from police precincts, colleges, companies, all over this city to a warehouse that is a donated space for us. And volunteers are there about 16 hours a day. They sort them into men's, women's, children's, and toddlers' coats in bags of 5, and agencies have applied to get them and come pick them up as they're ready. So in the space of 6 to 8 weeks, we bring in, through our volunteers, about 80,000 coats, sort them, and get them back out to people who need them. It's real, yeah, oh, thank you. It's really, and it is a program that is driven on volunteers. If I tell you that happens with 2 staff people and thousands of volunteers, I'm not exaggerating. We also have big days of service in the spring for our parks and gardens, and in the fall for our public schools. And John Jay College has had teams participating to help beautify New York City, get us ready for the school year in the fall, and get us ready for the summer in the parks and gardens. So a few things I want you to know about volunteering. And these are US statistics. I decided I'd show you this first. It's very interesting. About 26.5% of the adult population in this country volunteered in 2012. That totals, and when you think about this as just human resource, right? How much value volunteers add to the community. That was 7.9 billion hours of service to the community across this country. So you can imagine in that moment just how little would happen or how many things would go undone in this country unless we each stepped up and took part in helping make a stronger community. I won't bore you with how, but there's a group called the Independent Sector, and they come up with a value per hour of a volunteer. I think it's a little low, but we use their numbers anyway. And so that adds up to, if you had to pay all those volunteers, it'd be about $171 billion that it would cost you to drive that much change. So it's really significant. Now I'm going to tell you the bad news. 2013, fewer people volunteered in this country than did in 2012. And it dropped a full percent, the percentage of adults in this country who volunteered. People are really working and trying to figure this out, and there are a lot of theories running around because there are other measures that say people are as interested in their community. They're just not giving back. So for those of us in the volunteer field, we need to look within and say, are we giving you the kind of opportunities that will really engage you and get you excited? And, speaking of social media, are we engaging a new generation of volunteers, right? When we give back, right, we have a whole group of folks now who think a thumbs up on Facebook, right, is a good thing they did, and they're right. It's making sure that that's not the last thing they did, right? And we're really looking at how do we drive that to action, right? Because people, by and large, record tremendous, tremendous joy and satisfaction from the actual going and giving back. So we're working very hard to figure out how to get those numbers back up. I want to talk to you a little bit because one thing we know that is our volunteers are driven by making a difference. Right? So if we want to know that we've made a difference, we have to start by knowing what difference needs to be made. So a few things, I want to just give you some stats. It's not to bring you down too much on this great day, but it's some things that we're facing in New York City that I think it's important we all know. First, around children. There are 1.1 million students in the New York City public schools. So there's a huge, huge amount of giving back that we can all do. 40% of those students, and I'm sure you probably know this as you're thinking about college entrance here in the city, but 40% of those students do not graduate high school on time, right? And 70% are eligible for free lunch. So there's a fair level of need here in the city. Those are just a few of the stats. There are huge percentages of students who are not reading on grade level. If you want to make a difference working with kids, it is very, very needed, and there are a lot of programs that you can help with. For adults, 1.6 million New Yorkers living below the poverty line. Right? That's pretty significant in a city of 8.5 million, I believe. A third of the folks living in poverty do not have a high school diploma or a GED, which we know greatly limits their options for getting back into the workforce, right? And 4.1 million New Yorkers speak a language other than English as their first language. And the importance of having access to as many resources as possible, developing language skills, critically important in New York City, as it is anywhere. These are ones that have always been very moving to me. When I go out and do my own volunteering, I like to work with seniors. You know, ever since I left my mom and dad up in Albany, I seem to like to get together with seniors. But 60% of the folks living in nursing homes do not ever have any visitors. There's nobody. So it's an easy way for you to make a difference and spend some time. And 1.4 million New Yorkers do not have enough to eat. They call it food insecure. So around health and wellness, there are so many ways, again, that we can each give back and help out. Finally, I find all this fascinating. There are 1,700 parks in New York City, and 20% of New York City's land is parkland. Imagine Manhattan 2.5 times is parkland in the 5 boroughs. So there's a lot of space to be taken care of, and even in the best of economic times, the parks and gardens rely on us to keep them beautiful, to keep them ready to go, and to improve quality of life for everybody here in the city. And by the way, 200 libraries in New York City. Another fun fact, I don't know if folks know this, but New York City actually has 3 public library systems. Who thought New York Public Library was one big system that served the 5 boroughs? You can raise your hand and be proud. You are not alone, right? Queens Public Library, Brooklyn Public Library are each their own system. And New York Public Library is Manhattan, Bronx, and Staten Island. So the 3 systems all need help, certainly, but if you want to volunteer, there's 3 different systems to negotiate, right? So if you live in Queens and you work in Manhattan, and sometimes you want to volunteer after work, and sometimes you want to volunteer on the weekend at home, you'd actually need to access 2 different systems. So at New York Cares, we like to sort of, as I say, run interference so that you don't have to do that. One other thing I'd just like to throw up here, because, you know, folks often say, I don't know where I can help, I don't know where I can help, and it's true. Access is very, very important. There are almost 27,000 nonprofits in the 5 boroughs, if you can imagine that. 80% of them have smaller than $1 million budget. So they are small, very often community-based groups that really thrive and are driven on the efforts of local volunteers. They have anywhere from 1 to 5 staff members, and then a community of volunteers who keep their work moving along. So one of the ways when we think of those 1,300 nonprofits that we work with, we really try to think of how we can support those great ideas that are happening at the neighborhood level, where the added, what I call human capital of volunteers will really make a huge difference. So that is one way that I very much encourage people when they get involved with New York Cares to help drive your work. It can be very, very gratifying, because the smaller the organization, the easier it is for you to see the impact you're making, if that makes sense. Right? So I'll leave this slide up for just 1 second, but you know, I saw this kind of cool thing about how people spend their time as volunteers, and interestingly to me, still 1/4 of people are doing administrative tasks, right? They're stuffing envelopes, helping out in the office, right? But the actual service, social services, where we need the help most, that's about where 1 in 5 volunteer hours take. So, you know, I always say part of my job is to try to expand that part of the pie. So, ask you just to think about that one. So, you know, when I was talking to Kevin and we were talking about, you know, this talk in particular, I said, you know, there are 3 ways we each give back, right? We each have gifts to give, right? And we have the gift of our time, and that is certainly what we do as volunteering. We also have the gift of what we call goods. That's when you bring the coat in, right? That's when you donate to the food collection that might be happening, right? We have the gift of our time, we have the gift of the goods and those things that we have that are either extra or we're willing to invest in for others. And we have the gift of money. Many people in our society do donate to nonprofits or their schools or other charitable groups, their faith-based organizations. And that gift of money or that particular kind of capital drives a huge portion of the sector, of actually the business. Very interesting, 15% of the people in New York City who are employed in the nonprofit sector, right? So our gifts of money drive good. They enable people to be employed, to try to drive social change, and your gift of time and your gift of goods brings that all together. So I'll buzz through these very quickly because these are things everybody I think knows. But as we think about our gifts of time, there are ways that we can work with children. Many interesting and innovative volunteer type programs are coming up, right? When you ask most people, how do you volunteer, or what does a volunteer do? They'll usually say, oh, they serve a meal. That one's up first, right? Or they'll say, oh, they clean up the park, right? There's some big ideas. But when we get into working with children, there are so many needs that there are groups, including New York Cares now, who are attending to nutrition, fitness, science, math, whatever your interest is, there's a way that you can help. With adults, helping get adults back into the workforce, helping folks assimilate and learn new ways that they can give back in the community is a huge, huge need. It is actually the fastest growing area of our programming. Right here, the biggest request we actually get from public schools is for programming for parents, right? So people want parents involved in education, and they believe that volunteers can help bring folks back in. And then, of course, you can work with seniors. We've got a lot of programming for folks with special needs. And then there's meal service and prep and some of those standard activities. And again, I mentioned revitalization, something that we hope everybody will take a part in. I like to bring up these slides because really we have come to a point where if there is an interest you have, there are programs that can serve that. We want to help you find them at New York Cares, as do other groups. I bring that up because I want to talk a little bit, after I show you our coat drive poster there, about what keeps people volunteering and coming back. And I always say none of this is rocket science, but it really helps, I think, and it helps me to remind myself and lay it out. We were looking at New York Cares, because we have enough volunteers, we said, well, how do people get started? Why do they get started? Why, if they get started, do they keep going? Why do some people step up and become leaders and others drop off, right? So to figure it out, we created this, what we call a volunteer engagement scale, right? We looked at how much people do, how long they've been with us, and how much leadership they take, right? And we then broke that out into 6 levels of engagement, right? And as I always tell people, you know, coming up with level 1, the people who come by and then never do anything, we nicely call that shopping, right? You stopped by, you shopped, you didn't buy, okay, right? And then there's those level 6, those committed leaders, the people who've been with us 2 or more years. They're out there leading programs in the community. You know who those folks are, right? The folks around you who take that kind of leadership. It took us a while to come up with what 2 to 5 would look like, right? But we came up with this, and then we did a survey, actually working with the Baruch College Survey Research Unit, to look at why do people start, why do they keep going, and is there something that can help us predict who the leaders will be? We call this our leadership ladder, and it's who's going to climb the ladder, and can we push them up the ladder? Well, how can we do that, right? So, this is an important one. Whoop, I'm stepping on my water. The biggest reasons for starting, and I bring this up because I think it speaks to folks in the room, right? Biggest thing was helping your fellow New Yorkers, right? People had a really interesting look at community here. One of the things that I loved, and it comes to the second one too, making New York City a better place to live, we asked a whole bunch of questions, right? One thing that was unique about New York City is we were sort of poking through different questions to go, is it about New York City? Is it about your neighborhood? Is it about where you work? What is this about for you? And the thing that was unique about people in New York City was they thought about making the whole city a better place to live. Where in other areas of the country, people are a little more attached to their neighborhood, their community, where New York City folks had a much more global look at this, which was exciting to us and a good thing to know. And this is interesting, I think many of us relate to this. People wanted to use their free time productively, right? They're like, I can play Tetris all day on my phone, or I could do this, right? Things that help people move up the ladder. And this is one of the reasons I bring this up, is because as you think about what you might do here at John Jay College, what you might do for yourselves, the belief that you have made a difference by what you've done is the biggest thing that makes people come back, right? So as you look for experiences, it is not selfish to think about what will have the most meaning for you, right? And what sort of impact you really hope to see from the work you've done. Interestingly, gender, education, hours, how much you work, all of these things were really not a factor in how much leadership people took, and we were very excited about that, right? It's a very level playing field. Once somebody comes in, if you feel like you're making an impact and you have valuable experiences, most people will continue to do more. Now, this is the good news. This is the really good news. People who volunteer are happier than the rest of the world. It is true. There are a lot of studies that show this. And I actually read another study last week, which is fascinating. People who volunteer more than 100 hours a year, so about 2 hours a week, live on average 5 years more than people who do not. It is good for your brain, it is good for your health, it gets you outside of yourself. You know, I always say volunteering, I call it the great equalizer, right? We go through our weeks and there's a long line at Duane Reade and there's somebody blocking you as you're getting on the subway, and your family has this problem and everything is happening, and then you get to go out, you get to rebalance. And remind yourself that, you know what, there's a lot of good in my life. There's always somebody who has more, and there's always somebody who has less, and there's always a way that we can feel empowered and make a change. And those things make us happier, right? The other thing we found is volunteers are actually more politically active. And that's really important. They read the paper, they register. And by the way, this isn't interesting. I'm sorry, I've got to give you a quick aside. They register and they actually go on to vote. Right? In a survey, if you say to somebody, did you vote? They say yes, because they know they were supposed to, right? Nobody says, no, I didn't vote, right? So you actually have to kind of trick them into finding that one out. It's called social desirability. So everybody was registered, and then you give them sort of I was busy, I was out of town. You give them like different soft ways of excusing that they didn't vote. But the reality is people who volunteered were more likely to vote. They were more likely to go to block association meetings, community groups, be more engaged in their workplaces. And this is, to me, is very interesting, because this is all the reasons why it's good for us each to volunteer. The more you volunteer, actually the more trusting people are, right? There's interesting, I won't go into it, some other day I'll do a talk on social capital. Right? But social capital is a thing that bonds us to one another, right? We do a little something for you. We know someday somebody will do a nice thing for us. We say hello to somebody in the building. We loan them a hammer, whatever it may be, right? And those things come back to us, and they're based on a trust that we have for one another. And volunteering either builds that trust in a significant way, and it also engages trusting people to want to help others in the community. So it's a really good thing for you, is the message of that slide. So a few things to close. First of all, I really appreciate your listening. so intently to me and for giving me a standing ovation before I even started. The most important things that we wanted you to really hear today is that there are many ways to give back in New York City. Of course, everybody here hopes that you will give back through New York Cares, that New York Cares and John Jay College have promised to work very hard together. By the way, you know, as a Baruch alum, a Bearcat as we're called, one thing we did last year was we actually oriented every incoming freshman into the public affairs school. So we had an orientation for 1,000 students who have since given back, I think it's over 7,000 hours to the community. So we believe in the CUNY system. We believe in it because it's part of New York City, right? You guys are a part of New York City, and we want to engage students, we want to engage staff at all the colleges, because that's more important to us, to be frank, than meeting students and folks who are maybe going to come here for a few years and then leave, right? We want to build a new generation of New Yorkers who give back and care. So we are thrilled. I know Kevin and I talked earlier this week. Volunteering, there's going to be some surveys coming out about ways that you can get engaged, or you might be interested in getting engaged. Think about that in advance, or if you have some ideas now, everybody's open to hearing what those might be. Ways that, that would be meaningful for each of you to give back, whether that's in a group or individually. We do have the coat drive going on here, so I warn you now, yes, it's 80 out, but I still say it is going to get cold, and if you are cleaning your closet out this summer, please put stuff in a bag. On November 15th, there will be a box here somewhere, and we will make sure to send out information through everybody at HR about where you can give a coat. And then if you are so moved, you know, not to be too self-promotional, but if this is interesting and you think New York Cares might be a way for you to get your engagement started, please visit our website, newyorkcares.org. The biggest thing I would want to go back and just say in closing is that the fabric of life, especially in the United States, but in New York City, was founded on the idea that we would each willingly give back in our communities. When I travel around the world, which, believe it or not, people have asked me to speak about volunteering in other countries, and it's because in many other countries people do not understand this weird thing Americans do called volunteering, right? And we all take it for granted here that we're a part of keeping this moving, and we're a part of everybody making the community a better place to live. So please stay engaged, get engaged, and know that the rest of the world is looking, trying to figure out how they can do this too. Thanks, everybody.
One big hand for Gary Bagley, please. And look for human resources to be, helping us get more engaged in this type of organization and things that we can do going forward. I know my boss is going to give me ideas after this, that's for sure. So, right now we've got actually the food packing volunteer program going on with Declan. Rest of the afternoon for some fun things. Gina, hi. So let's go get them, folks. Thank you for the 2014 Bravo Employee Institute. Go out and have fun the rest of the afternoon.